Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on our live stream from the Florida School of Massage community. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sarah Thompson. I'm the admissions representative here at FSM. And I have the pleasure of speaking today with Fayenen Lathrenwen. She is a pre and perinatal somatic therapist, a professional transformational coach, and a master healer and body worker. I've had the pleasure of knowing and working with Fayenen over the last 7 years and have been blessed and personally impacted by our experiences together. And behind the scenes today, we have Christina, who's usually out here where I am. She's helping us in the background with Chrissy Martinez, who I'm both so thankful for them because we wouldn't be doing this without their help. And so this is a way, our live stream, that we've been inspired to stay connected together in these sort of extraordinary times that we're in while our school building is temporarily closed. We're really excited to be connecting with all of you today. I know we have a variety of listeners with us. Some of you are familiar with our school and some of you are brand new. So yes, we are a massage school. And just so you know that we're so much more than that. Our mission statement is to enhance the quality of life through touch and awareness. So that's the space that we're in today, certainly. Lots of our past students and professionals return to Gainesville for continuing education and advanced trainings. They come back again and again just to dip their toes into this space of awareness and the vehicle of touch. And of course, we're coming to you from our homes today because we're working with what we have. We will reserve, we're going to have about an hour together with Fayenen. We're going to explore the principle of pause together. And so first we'll settle in with a guided practice that will support us to experience that principle of pause. And so we encourage you to tune in, try it out with us, feel it for yourself. And then we'll have time to discuss this principle of pause and how that's beneficial. Why does that matter in life? And then we'll reserve some time for your questions at the end. So please feel free to comment. Let us know where you're coming from. Let us know what your questions and experiences are. So again, I'm Sarah and this is Fayenen, and welcome all the way from Wales.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to be welcomed on board. And I appreciate all the team and everything that's behind, that's helping us come together today. And yes, and I look forward to hearing people's questions and comments as we have this bit of time together. So,
yeah, me too.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled to share your presence and your skill with our community. I think there's so much resonance with what we do here at FSM and what you bring. Yeah,
and for me it's a pleasure because I have lived and worked in Gainesville for on and off, and I know a lot of people that have been through the school. So yourself one of them.
Yeah.
So in my heart there's a real fondness for the school, so I'm really glad to be here. So thank you. Yeah. So shall we take a moment to just feel ourselves and drop into the space together and have an experience of what it feels like to pause and to be present to what's going on in our bodies. So I invite you to, if it feels comfortable and you're not driving or anything like that, it's safe enough to close your eyes, to take a moment and just close your eyes and bring your focus, your attention down to your feet, down to the ground, down to Mother Earth as she rises up to hold you. down to the sensations in your feet. And all we're doing is noticing, what does it feel like where I touch the ground? What are the sensations? What are the thoughts? Just watching them, letting them be whatever they are. So bringing our attention down to Mother Earth. Noticing sensations, thoughts, and feelings. And then drawing our attention, pulling it up and up through our body, up to the top of our head, up to the top of our skull, the top of our head, where we meet the sky. So where the sky comes down to meet us and where we rise up to meet the sky. And again, noticing, simply noticing any sensations, feelings, thoughts. Maybe there's some tightness, maybe there's some heat. Maybe there's just a lot of thoughts. That's okay. It's just noticing what's going on. And then bringing our attention down through our body and taking it in front of us. So we're touching all the way from the front of our forehead, down the front of our eyes and nose and mouth, down the front of our neck and chest, front of our arms and hands, the front of our stomach, legs, front of our feet. Noticing any sensations, feelings, thoughts. Noticing what it feels like in the space where we're meeting everything yet to come. All the space in front of us. Taking our attention in front. And then moving it through your body to the behind. Down from the back of your head, down the back of your neck, the back of your shoulders and back of your back and arms and hands, back of your bum, your legs, back of your knees and calves and ankles. Noticing what's happening there in the back, any thoughts, feelings, sensations. What's happening behind in our body, where we meet everything that's behind us. And then drawing our attention through and over to the right hand side. So all the way down from the top of your head on the right hand side, down the right ear, the right shoulder, the right arm, the right torso, the right hip, the right leg, the right feet, all down the right side. Noticing any feelings, thoughts, sensations. Noticing what goes on for us as we put our attention onto the right side of us. And then drawing it through the body, over to the left side, all the way down from the left side of your head, left ear, left neck and shoulder and arm, left torso, hip, leg, ankle and feet. Noticing any sensations, any feelings, any thoughts that come up as you place your attention on the left side of you. And then drawing your attention back inside your body. And we're going to notice what's going on the inside. We have a body, a shell within which we live. And placing our attention on the inside of our body, all the way from the inside of our skull, down the inside of our neck, the inside of our chest and torso and stomach, inside of our pelvis and hips, the inside of our thighs and knees and calves, the inside of our feet and hands and arms. Noticing any feelings, thoughts, sensations on the inside. And then we draw our attention, staying in connection to the inside, we draw our attention to the outside, to the world at large, all that's outside of us. And notice what happens as you take your attention to the outside while staying in connection to the inside. And then we're going to pendulate one more time through all these places. So taking our attention down to Mother Earth, taking attention up to Father Sky, taking our attention down and through to the front side of our body, moving our focus through to the back side of our body, moving our focus through to the right side of our body, moving our focus through to the left side, focusing on the inside, and then inside in relationship to outside. And from this space, I invite you to, when you feel ready, to open your eyes and let your eyes gently start to let the light in, of the world around you. Gently letting your gaze open, settling on something, and connecting in with your present age, this present time of day. Being with yourself in this place of embodied presence. And I invite Sarah, if you want to share what's going on for you, as well as anybody listening that might want to share, please do. We'll start with you, Sarah.
Okay. Well, I'm just experiencing a lot of motion in my chest. So it feels like waves, like ocean waves splashing around in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a way that your attention is in your chest, and there's this feeling of these sensations moving and crashing and waves, and yet you are experiencing them, not being thrown by them.
Yeah, really appreciating the experience of connecting with inside and then outside. Just noticing like a thought that happens and noticing that the thought is different than the experience, like what's actually is the experience there. That felt really valuable to make that distinction.
Yeah, to be able to differentiate what you're experiencing from what a thought comes in. So your experience is, I'm experiencing the thought when I connect with this part, rather than that's my reality.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. It sounds like there's more space, more freedom to be with that thought than to get so engaged by it.
Yeah, I don't have to believe the thought.
Yeah, it's simply a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, there's a place of whenever I do this exercise, and I do it often throughout my day, there's a way for me right now, I feel more of a presence and a dropping inside me, rather than, okay, we're here live, or I'm talking to Sarah, or what's going on in the world. I feel more in me, in my connection to myself. So I appreciate the invitation to do this exercise because I value it for myself.
Yes,
Yeah.
so much. I've been practicing it. I learned this from you maybe 3 months ago, and I just find the more that I do it, the more I don't know the word choice I have with that space of, okay, here's the habit of what my thoughts are. Here's the habit,
Yeah.
and just increasing the space of, oh, and that doesn't have to mean this or that about
Yeah.
what's happening right now.
Yeah. So as you've practiced this exercise, you've found that your capacity to be at choice is increasing. Your capacity to notice what's going on in your sphere of life, and to be more at choice about whether to believe it, whether to absorb it, or whether to let it go. And so that sounds like you're experiencing more freedom of choice.
Yeah. And also to notice the times when that doesn't happen, and that's okay too.
Yeah. And so, if I may, it's this exercise was taught to me years ago by my teacher, Ray Castallino, who is the founder of this training called somatic blueprint therapy. They're coming up with different words for it. It's an evolving field of the perinatal field. It's a new field of psychotherapy. And in this exercise, when it was introduced to me, it comes with this idea of this principle, this, as you introduced at the beginning, is this principle of pause. And that ties into a whole bigger topic about regulation, co-regulation, self-regulation, and neuropsychology, and so many places that we can go with it, that an hour to talk about it's really small. So I just want to bring what I can, what's valuable right now. And so for me, this practice is a lot about coming into, as I mentioned earlier, embodied presence, coming into this place of I'm inside my body, I'm having an experience right now. And as Sarah, as you mentioned, there's a place of then the more I'm embodied and I'm in presence with myself, I am more at choice about the thoughts that come up. So whether I'm on my own, whether I'm with a client, or whether I'm with my family at home and something happens, using this exercise, I can take a moment. I can take a moment to cycle through and to pause, to say, okay, I'm noticing that I'm starting to get overly stressed, or I'm noticing that I'm starting to get overwhelmed, or I'm noticing that something's going on and that I'm moving out of regulation. And there's a term, anybody interested and wants to research more, they talk about the window of, well, Ray likes to call it the window of presence. And then Stephen Porges or Dan Siegel or Peter Levine, they call it the window of functionality or window of tolerance. So there's different names for it. But the idea that our brains, how they work, is that we can move from in a state of activation. If something happens and we get activated, our brain says, I need to fight or flee, fight or flight. Or if that doesn't work, then I'm going to freeze. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to flop. And there's even a fifth one that has been coming on board more recently, which is called fawn, which starts at the very beginning. I'll start to try and please the person. I'll try and, in order to be safe. So all this happens outside this window of presence. It's when I'm no longer really regulated. I'm no longer really able to take what's happening in life and assimilate it, integrate it, differentiate myself from it. I just think, I'm that. So that window of presence is where we can drop in. And what's outside the window is where we're in reaction, basically. And I work best, I serve best when I'm in my presence, when I can come back into presence. So to be able to notice when I'm out of presence, and then to have tools, and this is one of them, to bring me back into presence and say, and maybe I've been out of presence for a day. Maybe I've been out of presence for a minute. It doesn't really matter. It just matters that I catch myself when I can and bring myself back in. So that's as brief as I can be about
Yeah.
such a big principle. But
Yeah.
yes,
I'm really appreciating that window of regulation, the window of functionality that you're talking about. That definitely resonates with my experience in life. Sometimes I'm caught up in whatever's happening, and sometimes I'm not. And that really matches how I experience life. And so what I'm hearing is this is a tool to like build that muscle of, oh, I'm gonna deconnect myself from that fight or flight place, or it gives me kind of handles for how to develop myself to be more at choice.
Because like there's a way that we move through. So I'm sure people have heard the like name it to tame it. And that's what we're doing, is by taking a pause, I'm automatically naming that I'm in dysregulation. So I'm naming it. And that in itself is bringing on the part of my brain that needs to be online in order for me to assimilate, and in order for me to, the human brain rather than the animal reptilian brain. And so naming it that I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling what I'm experiencing, these thoughts, these feelings. I'm starting the process of naming it. And then by pausing, I'm actually awakening and reconnecting to the interoception aspect of the brain that is saying, I live inside this body. I can connect to feeling, thoughts, sensations. Okay. And then it then actually connects me to the part that I'm literally moving from the back of my brain, like here. As I do this process, I'm starting to move and activate all the way up towards the prefrontal cortex up here and connecting. So it's like all these lights are switching on up the brain. And I'm then coming to the place of the prefrontal cortex where I actually can choose. When I'm here, I have no choice. My choice is fight or flight, freeze or flop. Like,
that's my perception is I have no choice.
Yeah, I'm in the reactionary choice. Like we've always got choice, but we're in the unconscious reactionary choice of I need to survive. And as all this comes on, then I'm reconnecting to the place of okay, I can make a choice here consciously rather than a reactionary choice.
Yeah, I'm really appreciating the name it to tame it, and that I'm not hearing like name it to change it. What's up with that?
Yeah, well, okay, so I've been practicing for like professionally for 20 years or a little bit more. I feel old when I say that. And my experience of, I really want to, like, for my client to get the best they can. Like, I'm really invested in serving this person. Sometimes a little bit overly invested. And so that's just part of who I am. I'm really invested in that. Okay. And sometimes, especially earlier on, it hindered me. because I wasn't able to differentiate from it.
Mm.
I had the feeling and the thought, but then it became, that's what drove me. Like, okay, I challenge my client even more, or if I'm doing body work, like, let's like move.
Go
Like
deeper.
go deeper. and so it's not saying that there's anything wrong with that tendency or that feeling or that thought. And yet the more space I have, the more I'm able to name it to myself. It's like, I'm really wanting my client to have a good experience. Okay, I can feel that. Okay, I can give myself a nice hug before they come in, or in that moment of like, okay, without just naming it, I can be with it. And then I can make a choice. It's like, actually, you know what? Right now it serves to pause rather than like react by pushing more or fleeing, because then if I think that I can't help, then I'll go and then I'll withhold my gifts and I won't help as many people as I possibly can because I start to feel insecure. So that's where for me the taming is. It's not that these emotions are going to go away or these thoughts are going to go away, or I will get more proficient at differentiating from them. Maybe they affect me less, and maybe, who knows, someday they won't be there in that form. Yet the reality is there's always going to be something. So if I'm wanting to change it, then I'm automatically outside of myself again. So
kind of at odds with myself in a way.
Yeah. So when I'm inside my body and I'm doing that Mother Earth, Father Sky, so if I feel this place of my feet really hurt, but I want to change it, I don't want my feet to hurt, then I'm down there and I'm trying and I'm no longer noticing. And I'm actually just losing myself to that place.
Yeah, I'm excited to be dipping into this bit about, I feel like that's so relevant to many of our listeners, is having a healing practice, having a massage practice, and being in that space with a client, or like you said, even just day to day in our family and how those things all relate. But I'm excited to talk about that because I think it's I know that in my own massage practice, I've experienced some challenges around, I'm in the massage session and this person reminds me of 10 years ago, and suddenly I'm not present with my client or their tissue or their emotions or serving them. I'm in 2010, Yeah. And so I'm really appreciating this tool as a way to show up and serve more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in that instance, it's natural. Somebody reminds us of something, or something happens, and the thought comes up. And the more that I am differentiated, like from your thought, like you're saying, the more you can notice, that thought's coming up. Then it's like, I'm here and I'm having this thought. And then it's like somebody knocking on your door. It's like, somebody's knocking on my door. I can choose to let them in. I can choose to say to them, hey, I'm actually with a client right now. I'll speak to you later.
I love that.
And so we can do that with our own thoughts.
Just hold on.
I'll come back to you later. And it's not about ignoring it or making it bad or wrong. It's just saying, right now I'm choosing this. And it's like, I practice, one of my practices is Ayurvedic massage, and I remember when we were training and working with my teacher, and afterwards practicing, it's like, okay, the table needs to be at the right position and your arms, and so your back doesn't hurt while doing this, because for hours doing this whatever specific maneuver. And it's like, okay, if I'm not connected to what's going on for me either, then I'm not able to track myself.
Mm.
I have to override my own physical discomfort so that I can serve more. I need to transcend that pain in my feet because I've been standing.
I'll just push it through.
I'll just push through.
Yeah.
and then what happens is my system isn't in regulation. And therefore my client's system doesn't get to regulate to mine either. We don't get to have this harmonic resonance between us. My client is coming to me to actually regulate and relax and solve something, and I'm not living it. I'm doing the opposite. I'm saying I'm going to push through. So with this practice, I can check in and go like, okay, so butterfly, okay, I'm experiencing. So thought, okay, I'll see you later. I'll talk to you later. Great, okay. Let you go for now. Oh, some pain in my back. Okay, maybe at this position I need to get a chair or put the table down or up. Or then I have so many choices. Or I might think, actually, I'm only 1 more minute in this bit. And then I'm going to move on to this next part of this person's body. So yeah, I can choose to hold off for a minute. And then I'm not being a martyr. I'm not denying my experience of life. I'm actually in co-creation with it, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to me. It feels so much more inviting to be with, okay, here's the experience, here's the past, here's what's happening. And I'm just hearing like a spaciousness. And what's coming to my mind is the last episode of the Living Your Dream live stream. We were talking with Dean Juhan about like, what do you do if, you're in that space and you don't know, like, you don't know what's going to happen next. So some of it's kind of attractive to get into a pattern or a habit or a technique that feels safe rather than co-creating with the present moment, because that can feel scary.
Yeah, there's a way that I can rely on something, whether it's a technique or a process, to give me that sense of security and that I'm doing the job right. And there's a place for technique and structure. Yet when I use it as a way, and I'm not actually in relationship to the actual person that's with me and to myself, then it's just a technique. And it's not the technique that works on its own. Otherwise we can get a robot that just presses these places and voila.
Oh no.
and so that it isn't. It's about that human connection and that place of being able to connect in and make that choice right there and then of, okay, I'm going to stay here a little bit longer on this side, or I'm going to pause. And with the pause, like when I'm working on the therapy side of things, I use myself as a way of monitoring as well what's going on. So if I'm with somebody and I start to feel overwhelmed, and I notice that feeling, then I can have the thought of, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, possibly somebody else in the room is also feeling that. So I know that for me, if I pause for myself, I'm going to feel better and be able to deal with the overwhelm. And that might serve somebody else as well, whether it's my client or, again, in my family situation, it's like working with families, or it's like I'm not an island. My experience isn't an island. And when I'm working with somebody, we're not two islands just sort of talking to each other, or we're actually having a co-creative experience.
What about those times when I feel like, Fayenen, I don't have time for a pause. Like, I'm urgent. Like, things need to get done. There's not always time for this.
Absolutely. There's no time for a pause. I say that to myself regularly, at least once a day. That's not believing myself, though. Yes. So here's my assertion. 99.8% of the time, I really don't have the time. Like a lorry is a truck, just language differences. A truck's coming down the highway and it's gonna, because I'm crossing at the wrong time and it's gonna. So no, that's not the time to take a pause. Okay, that is when I do not have the time. So no, that's not when I take a pause. And if I'm really honest with myself, the majority of the other time, rest of the time, I do have a moment. And by a pause, I'm not saying we have to like take 10 minutes. I'm saying even 10 seconds helps me reconnect. So right now, I can say Mother Earth, Father Sky, front, back, right, left, inside, outside. My body knows that enough that it can do it much quicker. And the more I practice it, the quicker it is. But just in those, how long did it take? 10 seconds? Thereabouts. I felt like, woo, 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 I'm coming back in. So I can do that standing in the supermarket in queue. I can do that when my client's on the table in front of me. I can do that as my client is walking through the door. Welcome them in, and as they sit down, I can take a moment. As I sit down with my client before we talk, it's like, just okay to settle and breathe. It can be 3 breaths. It doesn't have to be this Mother Earth, Father Sky. It can be 3 breaths. So I had this experience a little while back when getting ready for school, and I've got a young kid, and it's like, run, we're going to be late. I don't want to get late, and there's going to be consequences to being late, and getting out the door and get his shoes on and get your coat on. And here in Wales, we have to wear lots of layers. We can't just be out the door in like 2 seconds with lots of layers. And I was feeling really stressed, and I was feeling very overwhelmed because time was a pressure. And it was real. Like, we needed to get in the car and we needed to drive and we needed to be there on time. And there's consequences if we're not there on time. Even as I'm speaking, if I notice what's going on for me, there's a speeding up inside me. My words are coming out much faster. I'm running. So even though I'm not running on the outside, internally I'm running. So anyways, I was doing this at 100 miles an hour inside myself, and my son wasn't liking that I was pressuring him and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, we have to get out the door. And then my husband said to me, do you want a hug? And I'm like, no, I don't have time for a hug. Don't have time to. And red signals in my head going, nee, hypocrite. Just that, because it's like, I don't have time. I don't have time right now to give my husband a hug and look him in the eye. I don't have time to pause. Like, that's all it would have taken me was like less than 5 seconds, like to just give him a quick hug. So with those signals, because it's my work, and I'm like, okay, if I say this to people and then I don't do it myself. So I chose to caught myself. I lay down on the floor right there in front of my door in the passageway, in the middle of shoes and coats and everything. And I lay down for like 5 seconds. My son came and lay down next to me without me asking him. 10 seconds later, we'd taken a few breaths, got up, put on shoes, put on coat, and out of the door. No drama. And we were faster out the house than we would have been had I kept on my like, hey, you have to go faster, you have to go faster, you have to go faster. Yeah. So sometimes we think that by taking a pause, we're actually going to go slower. But the weird thing is that it actually helps us more. So that's my long-winded response.
Sounds like we're giving some tough love to that I can't story. that like I don't have.
Yeah.
And we're challenging it.
Mm-hmm. I'm choosing, it's another thought. I'm choosing to experience. Am I really in danger? I'm asking my brain that's back here, saying, you've done such a great job at protecting me for many situations. And right now, do I have a moment? Is it really true that it's life or death? And it feels like it. In that moment, it feels like life or death.
Yes. Yes, maybe a better way to say it would be we're getting curious with that thought.
Absolutely. It's like there's a curiosity to it. It's like, oh, is it really true?
Yeah.
Can I take 10 seconds to just regulate myself? Because my belief and my knowing is that I have much more capacity to give, to be kinder, to be more available when I'm regulated.
And what I'm hearing in that is the connection between like living in intention, like getting to live the way I want to live,
Yeah.
and the way it feels purposeful to me to live is more available to me when I'm not giving all of my energy to the reptile brain inside that's running and running.
Yeah, because the reptilian brain is a survival.
Yeah.
And it has its place. And we're human beings. We're in a human body. We're having this human experience to be purposeful, to express our innate service and our innate gifts and our innate presence in the world. And that doesn't happen through the reactionary survival brain. It's like we're given this more advanced brains for us to be able to come in, to have the social connections, to have the capacity to serve, to have the capacity to choose, to have the capacity to choose consciously.
I just feel really filled up hearing you say that. I'm also noticing that it's about time to check in with Christina.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I am
See if
curious
there's.
what's happening out there outside our little world.
Yeah. Christina, can you hear us?
I can. Can you both hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just wonderful comments, lots of appreciation for the exercise, and also recognizing the lineup with our training at the Florida School of Massage, too, and how touch in our hands is also another vehicle for pausing and noticing our brain. And in terms of questions, one question is how did you first begin to integrate this work into your own life and into your own practice, your massage practice?
So for me, and Sarah, you can share too, because you have been. For me, this practice, when I had my son, I got really interested in the pre and perinatal aspect of psychology and experience of life. And so then I did a lot of training with the pre and perinatal side of things. And I found these principles. So principle of pause is one of our principles that we have. And I found that for me, it pervades my life. It pervades when I'm working with a client physically in terms of body work, when I'm working with a therapy client, when I'm doing coaching, talking, and at home. So for me, it's a principle that helps me no matter what. It helps me in all my capacities. It helps me regulate. So that's like, I don't have a specific, like, okay, it took me to practice this, but it was really a place of like, okay, let me keep practicing this principle of pausing. Whenever I notice myself starting to spin out a little bit or believe my thought right now as I'm working with a client, let me just, while I'm doing something, breathe and just go through the exercise. And like I did, and then I kept practicing it. That's How about you, Sarah? Because you lent it from me. Like we did some work together, and
well, I think so much of what attracted me to this was my experience at FSM, where I feel like being touched every day for the entire program brought me into an awareness of how the momentum of my life was largely coming from living in the past, living in the future, and not really taking time to integrate. And I got a lot of integration. Like, and so when we started working together, I was thinking so much of a very specific session where I was the therapist and working on a person that just, I think I mentioned it before, it just felt like it was 2010 for me. I wasn't in 2019. And it really, the experience was loud, and it gave me pause to say, I'm needing something. If I'm going to be successful at this work, if I'm going to take this work seriously and do it the way that I really want to do it, I'm needing something that I didn't have at the time. I didn't yet have that skill built. And my muscles weren't strong in saying, okay, that was 2010. This is 2000. That was 19 at the time. And just creating that space. It felt still, I was still in it. So that was my wake up call, kind of, to like, okay, I need something for me in order to flourish in my service to help other people.
Yeah.
So beautiful, both of you. Lots of, positive comments and appreciation for the exercise. And I can share too, just from my own experience of the exercise was really wonderful for me. And I was in kind of an excitement mode, being behind the scenes and operating the live stream for all of our viewers and listeners. And so it was very helpful for me, and yet another tool to just slow down, feel myself, notice myself, and not say, why am I vibrating? Why am I so excited? And start to fight myself a little bit. And like Sarah, it reminds me too of my early experience many moons ago, about 30 years ago, when I first began studying massage and becoming aware of myself. And I remember how empowering it was for me to know that, oh, I have a reactionary reptilian brain. That's just my chemistry. How can I fight hormonal chemistry? And how empowering that was to realize that, okay, this is going to happen for the rest of my life. It's not like I'm going to suddenly arrive at a point where I'm done reacting, I'm done being in fight or flight. But what I'm gathering is all of these inner resources to pause and to practice and to start to build that muscle, sort of like you were describing it, that you can just do it in the grocery store and bring yourself right back into assimilating and differentiating what's happening and bringing it up into the prefrontal cortex. And I think that you said it so beautifully. And I know for myself, it just feels like a lifelong practice. And I so appreciate learning from you and hearing one more tool with which we can do that. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes, because Christine, it's like you're saying, I totally resonate with that. It's a lifelong practice, and there's so many ways, and there's so much more now about mindfulness and being more mindful of what's our experience and more awareness. And I love that it's accepting, for you saying that, accepting I have a reptilian brain. It's going to want to do this fight or flight thing. It's going to want to sometimes. And so there's so much acceptance there and embracing, and then saying, oh, okay, I can build my resilience. I can build my capacity to work with this, because it's got a gift. It's there for a reason. And it's not the main thing that's running my life. So I get to, like in coaching, we sometimes talk about who's in the driver's seat. Is it my reptilian brain who's driving the car right now? I might not want to get in the car when that's the case. So I get to choose who is driving right now.
Yes, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, we have just a few minutes left, and we just kind of touched on it briefly, but our wrap-up question is usually like, how does this support you to live life on your own terms? So,
Yeah. So that's a good one for me, because when I'm living in reactionary mode, then I'm not living on my own terms. I'm at the mercy of my history. I'm at the mercy of my conditioning. I'm at the mercy of my survival strategies. I'm not living purposefully. I'm not living in connection to my own intention. And that's what for me it means to be living life on my own terms, is I get to have a choice. I get to feel purposeful. I might not get to choose whether I live in Wales or Florida, or I might not get to choose whether I am blonde or whatever, so I can color my hair. But you know what I mean? Like there's certain things I don't have that choice over. I have a choice over whether I react to it or respond to it. Mm. So this principle and the whole idea of pausing and regulating is that place of, when I'm in a regulated space, when my window of presence is really wide, then I can take life as it comes to me and make choices. I can be in connection with my purpose. I can be connection with my dreams, with my desires, and I can make choices based on that, rather than having that very narrow window, and then I'm always like bouncing from here, and then I have adrenal fatigue because I've been there, and then I freeze, and then and then it's this up and down, rather than working like, oh, okay, I can work to expand my window of presence. And in that window of presence, I know that I am much more present and connected and alive and vibrant and at choice to make decisions, to lead the life I want within the circumstances that are around me.
Yeah. Well, I just appreciate being with you today so much. Thank you for spending the time.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yes. If anybody listening has further questions for Fayenen, or if you would like to connect with her, we're going to include her email and website under the show notes. It's fayenen@gmail.com. Also, www.fayenen.com/services. And if you've enjoyed your time with us today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button. You can hit the like button and share it with your friends. You can also click that notification to get a reminder that we're going live again in December. Also, if you're on Facebook, of course, you can follow, like, and share. And if you're interested in our program at FSM, I would love to talk to you. I'm in admissions. We are taking applications right now, so please give us a call, give us an email, and let us know your interest. Otherwise, look for email updates for our next live stream coming up in December. And again, thank you, Chrissy and Christina in the background, for helping with everything. We wouldn't be here without you. And finally, thank you again, Fayenen, for being with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Christina and Chrissy. It's been a pleasure to be with you all. And really appreciate the space and the invitation to come on board, and really appreciate what you guys do for the world and for your students that come through. Like, I haven't met one person who's come through a school who hasn't absolutely loved and adored it. And feels at home there. So thank you for being what you are and offering it to the world.
Yeah, thank you so much. So until next time, may you all stay grounded in connection to yourselves, and goodbye for now.